Since the age of myth, every 200 years the goddess Athena and the underworld king Hades clash in a battle destined to reshape the world. And now, as chaos swallows the land once more, the warriors of hope, champions of Athena, arise, each embodying a constellation and fighting with reckless courage. In 18th century Europe, we meet a young boy named Alon. Walking down a path, he witnesses two rough youths tormenting a dog. Without hesitation, Alon steps in to protect the helpless. These boys demand the dog as food, claiming it stole their meal, a cruel survival in their harsh world. To save the dog, Alon offers a precious ink bottle he had worked hard to buy. The youths accept, but before Alon can leave, Tenma, his loyal friend, storms in, breaking their faces with fierce punches to reclaim the ink. Tenma's fierce loyalty shines through this brutal rescue. But Alon urges Tenma to stop believing even these boys have their own reasons. Alon desires peace, not conflict. Surprisingly, these two troublemakers are orphans like them, and despite their clashing personalities, they have become friends, a testament to bonds forged in hardship. Later, Alon returns to his canvas painting, a portrait of his goddess. His teacher arrives with a mysterious priest from a forest chapel drawn by Alon's art. Alon knows this chapel hides a sacred painting of a Saint Devil, a masterpiece never revealed to the world. Anyone who sees it is said to repent instantly. Yearning to witness this miraculous painting, Alon strives to earn renown in the church. When asked why he hasn't painted the eyes yet, he explains he's searching for the perfect red pigment. The priest reveals a secret: a flower on the northern mountain, stained by the blood of a fallen angel, holds the true red. Determined, Alon and his dog climb the mountain. Suddenly, the dog barks urgently and races ahead, forcing Alon to follow. The journey feels like a pilgrimage, a spiritual quest to capture a colour born from celestial sacrifice. At the peak, the priest's words come alive. Flowers bloom in vibrant hues, yet the red Alon seeks still eludes him. Yet surrounded by such beauty, Alon sets to paint the breathtaking scene. The wild beasts turn their gazes his way before suddenly fleeing, sensing an ominous presence. A mysterious girl appears, Pandora, who reveals she's been searching for Alon to resurrect her king. To succeed, she needs Alon's body pure and untainted. She presses her lips to his and a glowing ring emerges. Bowing, she calls Alon the king of the underworld Hades. Shadows from Hades flood into the human realm, spreading darkness. But when they confront a warrior of Athena, he unleashes dragon-like punches that shatter the shadows to dust. This warrior is Du of the Libra constellation, who senses Hades' revival from their gathering. Du hunts for Hades' whereabouts, but the shadows remain fiercely loyal, refusing to betray their king. Meanwhile, Alon awakens at home. Sensing danger, Tenma climbs the mountain and finds him unconscious, carrying him back. Yet the ring Pandora gave slips from Alon's neck and dives away to avoid Tenma's grasp. Then news breaks the river is about to flood the town. The city gates close, abandoning the people to the rising waters. Amidst this looming disaster, Alon's heart races, ready to face a fate tied to God's darkness and hope itself. He didn't try to persuade with words. Instead, Tenma felt the urge to act, refusing to wait for others. He remembered the promise between him and Elon and the friend from long ago. Tenma vowed to protect his family and friends at any cost. Racing to the riverbank, he saw a boulder shifting the river's flow. He tried to break it, but only ended up breaking his hand. Meanwhile, C felt a faint energy while wandering through the forest and rushed to find Tenma. In his desperation, Tenma thought of Elon and the children, and a fierce power ignited within him, empowering him to stand strong. Fueled by this newfound power, Tenma smashes the massive stone and restores the river's flow. Du rushes in to help him up, impressed by his incredible strength. Du then invites Tenma to join Athena's warriors. On his way back, Tenma sits with Elon, who sketches a portrait before they part ways. Elon tries to capture the colour of Tenma's eyes in his painting, but feels his skill isn't ready yet. He encourages Tenma to move forward, promising to hone his craft before they reunite. Later, Tenma meets Du again, who is startled to see Elon, but soon sets off with Tenma on their journey. At Athena's temple, the domain of the 12 constellations, each guarded by a mighty warrior, Tenma finishes training. Suddenly, A group arrives led by a young man who challenges Tenma to a duel, eager to test his skills. Tenma accepts immediately, while his followers warn against provoking him. The challenger Gato is known for his arrogance and violence. Tenma has heard of him and senses the dangerous pride in the man's eyes. The battle begins fiercely, each exchanging blows. Gato quickly finds his rhythm, dodging Tenma's strikes and landing a sharp hit. Humiliated by his defeat and Gato's taunts, to return home, Tenma punches a nearby rock, hurting only his hand. Then C returns and finds Tenma frustrated after months of little progress. He explains that Tenma hasn't yet grasped the true nature of his power, diving into a lesson about atomic physics before announcing he'll stay to watch over Tenma's intense training. Suddenly, Tenma senses a familiar silhouette and runs to grab her. It's Sasha, his childhood friend with the distinctive bracelet. Elon doesn't recognize Tenma at first, but when he introduces himself and shows the bracelet, the connection is clear. Confused by her presence since Sasha was adopted away, Tenma's reunion is shattered by a monster attacking her. Tenma bravely shields Sasha, taking a brutal hit to the pillar as the creature targets her again. Straining to break free, Tenma punches the ground hard enough to dent it, but the monster evades and strikes him again, dragging him down. Right before Sasha's eyes, as Tenma is beaten, she suddenly unleashes a burst of power, demanding the monster release him. Recognizing Sasha's true identity, the monster hesitates but is swiftly defeated by the Ares warrior, Su. According to Su, Sasha is none other than the goddess Athena herself. 2 years later, Tenma battles a towering foe, and just when defeat seems certain, he rises and lands a crushing blow. He then shatters a falling rock with a fierce punch, proving his strength. Gato watches, acknowledging Tenma's success. Officially recognized and honored as a saint, Tenma is bestowed his sacred armor. The high priest warns of a grave crisis. Shadows of darkness are spreading. As a saint, Tenma bears the sacred duty to purge these shadows and protect the world and the goddess Athena herself. Tenma completes his mission, hoping Elon has finished his painting. But Elon's canvases are grim, painted in dull greys. His art feels lifeless. Pandora appears, claiming that salvation for others isn't through paintings, but through death. She drags Elon to a sacred hall deep in the forest where a painting of repentance awaits. There, Elon senses the sanctuary opening, greeted by the same priest from before. Meanwhile, Tenma secretly meets Sasha, reminiscing about old times. Both know the shadows are creeping closer to their hometown, and they must act swiftly to protect their families. Meanwhile, Elon realizes that the priest is not who he seems. Viewing the painting inside, he sees it depicts Hades, the king of the underworld, but the figure resembles Elon himself. The priest and Pandora begin brainwashing Elon, insisting death is mercy, and the children are better off beyond. Elon's mind twists, believing death is salvation. The moon vanishes, signaling Hades' awakening. Meanwhile, a team of saints is sent to eliminate Hades' minions, deliberately leaving one alive to track their lair. Entering the lair, they fall into a deadly trap. Only 3 survive to report the shadows are converging on a forest temple. Suddenly, their armor turns jet black. They are no longer alive, but resurrected warriors of Hades sent to seize Athena's head. Du and Su leap into battle to stop them. Hearing their true intentions, Sasha rushes to intervene, but it's too late. She approaches the 3 warriors, sensing their lingering human hearts and desire to fight for her once more. Despite this, Du and Su feel deep shame for having to fight their comrades and vow to bring the conflict to the forest temple. Du then briefs Tenma and Jato on the plan. Du urges Jato to take it easy, but Jato insists he won't lose to Tenma. Tenma knows the shadows are nearing their hometown and resolves to protect Sasha and Elon with all his might. Soon after, they return home, but Tenma, worried for Elon, separates from the group when a pillar of light pierces the city sky. Du hopes Tenma won't rush blindly, but what Tenma sees is a nightmare death everywhere, the town engulfed in flames. Racing home, he finds only Elon's blood-stained paintings remaining. A stranger appears, demanding Tenma be used as a sacrifice for Hades. Enraged beyond reason, Tenma blocks the attack and retaliates with a devastating blow. Meanwhile, Sasha and Elon realize Tenma has returned and decide to meet him as promised, showing him the painting they've created. In his darkest despair, Tenma finds an unexpected ally arriving just in time. Suddenly, Gato is blasted away, leaving the battlefield charged with hope once more. Here stands Hades, or more precisely, Elon revealing himself. It's a shock no one could believe. The gentle friend once cherished now transformed into a ruthless, genocidal force. Memories flood back to when the three were inseparable and a wreath was handed to them as a fragile farewell. Before departing, Tenma demands an explanation from Elon, yet Elon sees Tenma unchanged, returned as a saint's emblem. Meanwhile, Elon has become an artist who has saved many, though the portrait he painted of Elon from the past remains unfinished because only now has he found the red hue he needed the colour of blood. With cold precision, he draws 2 crosses over the painting. Suddenly, Tenma suffers a grave wound and collapses, breaking the wreath from Elon's hand. Elon's hair darkens, signalling a farewell, not just to his friends, but to the man he once was, as he officially embraces the mantle of Hades. Without hesitation, Ma charges forward, but a subordinate of Hades intercepts him, Kagaho, whose power rivals Du's. Just as a brutal showdown seems inevitable, Su arrives to halt the conflict, pulling Kagaho back for a mission of greater importance. They then witness Jato and Tenma falling into a shattered abyss below. Hades orders Kagaho not to pursue, claiming he has settled all lingering matters. Now the true holy war is about to begin. Upon returning, Hades summons all his shadow warriors, revealing that each of Athena's fighters represents a constellation. So when a warrior falls, a star vanishes into darkness. The first to fade was Tenma's star. Hades vows to drape the entire sky in black by extinguishing Athena's light. Pandora then calls forth Minos, the strongest of the Shadow Legion, to the sanctuary, showcasing their overwhelming power. Kagaho approaches Hades, pleading to test his strength. Spotting the wound Doko inflicted on Hades' arm, Kagaho's fury ignites. He's determined to settle the score with Doko. But stepping outside, he finds Minos has already departed for the sanctuary, so he follows without hesitation. Meanwhile, Gato awakens beneath rubble, finding Tenma beside a mysterious girl. Passing by, he's stunned because a survivor named Sa still lives. Then, a haunting vision, Elon fully corrupted, clutching Tenma's severed head. The shock jolts Gato back to reality as Su and Du return, reporting the town's destruction. Elon has been possessed by Hades, and Tenma is presumed dead. The weight crushes her spirit, yet she stifles her grief, urging them to rest and prepare for Hades' looming assault. Knowing Sa must feign strength, Gato struggles to pull Tenma from the wreckage just as the mysterious girl appears. Gato lunges to attack the girl, but she seizes his head, slamming him into the ground. She reveals her mission to rescue Tenma before it's too late because he's not completely gone. Her name is Rick, a warrior of immense power, who leads them deep underground to her tribe's sanctuary. Though Gato follows, he remains skeptical, doubting this girl who rivals saints and knows Tenma's fate better than anyone. Upon entering, he spots the sacred armors of holy warriors and suspects the place harbors darkness. Turning to leave, he's suddenly attacked from behind by an unseen assailant. Caught off guard, Gato's doubts deepen what shadows lurk in this hidden refuge. And as the confrontation unfolds, the line between friend and foe blurs, leaving us wondering in this war of gods and mortals who truly holds the light. Furious, he confronted them, only for the elder to reveal they were allies serving Athena. Then he detached the armor from Jato and ordered Rick to pour blood into it. He explained that restoring a sacred armor demands a river of blood warriors on the battlefield can't spare any. With no choice but to draw from Rika, the one he'd trained all this time, the elder tapped the armor a few times, and it returned to GT. At once, GT felt stronger than before. He believed the elder's claim that he could save Tenma and rushed to see him. The elder revealed that the soul of... Suddenly, the elder drew his sword, declaring that to rescue Tenma, Jato must embrace death and descend into the underworld. He handed Jato the sword, assuring him it would protect him for as long as Tenma remained. With that, he separated Jato's soul from his body, allowing him to descend to the underworld. Unexpectedly, Rick was sent down as well to aid Jato. She insisted they act quickly before Tenma became part of the lost souls. As they ventured forth, they realized they were surrounded by the souls of Hades' victims. Meanwhile, Tenma awakened blinded by light. A spectre approached him, informing him that he stood at the threshold between the human world and the underworld. The spectre mused that Hades had been merciful, allowing Tenma to linger in limbo. When Tenma attempted to fight back, he was swiftly overpowered, sparking Jato's awareness. The spectre revealed that the most powerful of them all, Minos, had been dispatched to the sacred realm, and that Tenma would soon reunite with his friends below. Just as he departed, Jato and Rick arrived, but they were quickly spotted by a demon. With swift teamwork, Jato and Rick dispatched the demon efficiently. However, the spectre had noticed their presence and returned. He snuck up behind Rick and struck her unexpectedly, but Gato rushed in to defend her. The spectre warned Gato of his ear-splitting attack, yet Rick charged forward, unfazed, only to be blown away by the force of the spectre's scream. Gato found himself captured, and in a moment of desperation, he kicked the spectre's mask off, provoking his wrath. Infuriated, the spectre unleashed his scream, sending Gato flying. However, Tenma had just managed to break free, launching himself at the spectre with renewed determination. He landed a powerful blow that shattered the spectre's armor, leaving Gato feeling somewhat disheveled after rushing to save Tenma. Amidst the chaos, Tenma expressed his desire to return as soon as possible to protect the sacred realm. Yet Rick reminded them both that they still had unfinished business below a task that could determine the outcome of the battle at Vandora's sanctuary. Just then, a messenger reported that a spectre had been defeated, and news spread that Tenma's soul had been spotted. Hades was taken aback, but Pandora remained skeptical, insisting that it was impossible for Tenma to still be alive, since Hades himself had taken his life. Meanwhile, Tenma and Jato were engaged in a heated argument with Jato, insisting he had come to rescue Tenma solely to bring joy to Athena. Rick urged them to stop bickering and quickly venture to the deepest part of the underworld. Hades had a realization Athena must have done something for Tenma to still exist. Pandora, however, assured him that Minos would sweep through the sacred realm effortlessly as the stars above continued to darken ominously. Minos relentlessly ensnared the holy warriors, treating them like puppets, twisting their bodies in his grip before advancing. He soon stumbled upon a field of roses where two foolish warriors stepped in only to bleed out from the poisonous blooms. One of them recognized it as the crimson rose, lethal enough to kill with just a breath. The one who created this deadly garden was the holy knight Ambar, who openly acknowledged the danger of the roses and dared anyone to enter, warning that they should turn back if they valued their lives. Some overconfident warriors attempted to attack, believing they could withstand Ambar's presence, only to be dispatched swiftly by the roses. Minos cautioned them to remain vigilant, for Ambar was just as beautiful as the flowers, but equally dangerous. Meanwhile, Ambar was fortifying defences outside, knowing that he could not afford to handle everything alone. Siren recalled a rumour about Ambar's divine garden of crimson roses, where Ambar and his soldiers had adapted to the poison. Ambar was the most immune, having transformed his blood into the very poison of the crimson roses. Thus, despite his handsome appearance, he remained untouchable. Out in the field, Ambar challenged Minos, who descended to confront him, since he was immune to the rose's poison. Yet his strength alone was not enough to harm Ambar, who possessed a rose that could corrode anything it touched. Realizing the threat, Minos fled, unleashing his secret weapon, a toxic mist that caused the roses to wilt. Ambar feared the poison would infiltrate the sacred realm, so he decided to shield the villagers within. Worried about Ambar's peril, a young girl clung to her belief that he would not fall, for he was powerful. Yet the villagers also fretted for their own safety, caught in the chaos of the holy war. Meanwhile, Ambar absorbed the purple poison, rendering his enemy momentarily immobilized. Minos took advantage of the situation, striking a few blows before retreating, sensing danger. Ambar returned, converting the toxic mist back to its ominous red hue. He conjured numerous toxic thorns, piercing Minos, who found himself overwhelmed. While outside, Minos prepared for battle. He unleashed a whirlwind that swept away the poisonous mists and dead petals. He proclaimed that he never needed the green-armored demon in the fight, for he alone was enough. With a swift motion, he ensnared Ambar, asserting that he would lose control of his own body. Noticing villagers nearby, he dispatched someone to deal with them first before continuing his torment of Ambar. Despite Ambar's struggles, he found himself under Minos' control, pondering what to do with the strikingly handsome face before him. The green armor stepped forward to face the challenge, immune to the red demon's poison, but his strength wasn't enough to harm Ambar. Ambar wielded a rose that could corrode everything it touched. The green warrior fled and unleashed his trump card, a toxic aura that withered all nearby roses. Ambar feared this poison would seep into the sanctuary and quickly gathered the villagers inside. Though the villagers worried for Ambar's fate, a young girl steadfastly believed he wouldn't fall. He was just too strong. Yet, they also fretted for their own safety caught in this holy war. Meanwhile, Ambar absorbed all the purple poison and froze in place. The green armor seized the moment to strike, but stopped when sensing danger. Ambar returned, transforming the toxic aura back to its crimson hue. He then conjured countless poison thorns, piercing the green armor from within. Outside, the armor was shielded by poison, but inside vulnerable. At that moment, Minos was forced into battle, whipping up a whirlwind to sweep away the poison and petals. He admitted he never needed the green armor. Anyway, he alone was enough. Minos then threw a rope to capture Ambar, declaring that from now on, Ambar would no longer control his own body. Sensing villagers nearby, Minos sent men to deal with them first, while he stayed to toy with Ambar a little longer. Ambar struggled against the control, but was held firm. Minos pondered his next move, deciding to destroy that handsome face first. He forced Ambar to punch himself, then aimed to blind him by targeting his eyes. But Ambar broke his own shoulder, causing the attack to miss. Minos believed Ambar was powerless, and the villagers were doomed. Yet Ambar knew Minos had underestimated him. He'd set a trap long ago. The earlier band of villagers had fallen into a hidden snare, poisoned thorns, shooting straight for the heart once they turned fully red. Minos, realizing the truth, unleashed a brutal assault on Ambar's body, but the poison re-emerged. Now, Minos wanted to see who would perish first, Ambar from his poison, or Minos from Ambar's wrath. With every ounce of will, Ambar pushed the poison toward Minos, who blocked it with his wings, forcing Ambar to strike himself. Turning away, Minos sent his forces to evacuate the villagers, but he was determined to annihilate them all. The young girl, searching for her father, saw him being crushed. Her father urged her to flee to the holy temple, while he stayed behind. She ran away, believing Ambar was still safe. Earlier, while walking home in the rain, Ambar had covered her with his cloak, warning her not to come close. At that time, she thought he was cold-hearted. But after learning Ambar's true condition, she ran off hoping to find him again, only to be found by Minos. Seeing the rose she carried, Minos knew she was linked to Ambar and planned to eliminate her too. But Es arrived to fight Minos. Ambar believed that as the head of the 12 sacred gold saints, he must stop the leader of the shadowy demons. Yet even Ambar was overpowered and controlled by Minos. Just as his arm was about to be broken, a black rose cut the binding cords. Despite his battered body, Ambar came once more, apologizing for the trouble, but insisting this battle was his alone to end. He urged Es to lead everyone far away, because now he would unleash his final card. Minos scoffed, convinced that no matter what Ambar tried, he'd only be a toy for stronger forces. Still, he respected Ambar's beauty enough to spare his life. But Ambar rejected Minos' pity, having lived in loneliness for so long by choice, and no one had the right to judge his way of life. Then Ambar unleashed a storm of blood thorns toward Minos. Minos realized Ambar was sacrificing all his blood to drag them both into death. Ambar collapsed, and Minos thought Es's turn had come, but Es told him to look down at the rose Ambar had clenched in his mouth earlier. It was on Minos' chest now. Though it appeared white, Ambar had dyed it red to deceive Minos. Now fully red, the rose meant Minos' life was doomed. Minos planned to drag the entire area into ruin with him, but Es trapped him inside a glass cage. Frustrated, Minos had no choice but to retreat. Ambar whispered his final words. He had lived his whole life with these roses, and this was the first time he saw them as truly beautiful. Es then carried Ambar's body away. The young girl followed, asking if the holy war would claim the lives of all the sacred gold saints one by one. But Ambar believed they fought for ideals and justice, not just to die. If death was the price for standing by their beliefs, they would fight until their last breath. Suddenly, the underground forces arrived to meet Es, informing him that Minos had died alongside a gold saint, but could still resurrect fallen soldiers. The high priest shared this news, but assured Es that Minos now lay within the barrier Athena set blocking Hades' magic from reviving him. Still, they needed to defeat Hades quickly, before Athena's strength ran out. Then, from below, they learned that in just one more day, good news would arrive: Tenma had been resurrected. Meanwhile, Tenma was running without knowing where he was headed. Rick explained they needed to reach the giant tree of the underworld, Because the shadow demons knew no concept of death, they always revived sooner or later. The key to stopping them lay within that ancient tree. He believed they fought for ideals and justice, not to die. Yet if death was the price of their resolve, they would battle till their last breath. Suddenly, emissaries from the underground arrived, demanding the horn be taken to meet the high priest Hades. It was revealed that Minos had died alongside a sacred arrow, but Hades still possessed the power to resurrect fallen soldiers. The high priest shared this grim truth, but reassured them that Minos was sealed within Athena's barrier, impervious to Hades' resurrection magic. They had to defeat Hades before Athena's strength waned. Yet those from below warned that in just one day, good news would arrive. Tenma was revived. Meanwhile, Tenma ran aimlessly, not knowing where to go. Rick explained they needed to reach the great tree of the underworld, for the phantoms knew no death, they always resurrected. The key to defeating them lay in that ancient tree. The trio found an exit, but were immediately confronted by the three-headed dog. Kiyosato wanted to handle the beast alone, relying on his armor, but he could only focus on one head while the other two wreaked havoc. So Gato pulled the dog toward Tenma, giving him the chance to unleash a decisive strike and defeat it. Before they could move far, Hades appeared before Tenma. Unexpectedly, his hair had turned black. Rick seized the moment to eliminate future threats, but was blasted away by Hades, who was busy chatting with an old friend. Hades admired Tenma's fierce will to survive. He invited Tenma to join him underground and oppose Athena. Tenma refused, unwilling to turn the world into hell. He vowed to fight alongside Sa so that both Hades and Elon might see which world was truly better. Hades was intrigued, knowing Tenma kept his promises. He let him go, promising a future reunion. Then Tenma was sent to the sanctuary to meet the others once more. Gato foolishly uttered some nonsense and got punched by Tenma. The trio pressed on, reaching the bloodfalls. As they climbed, Tenma sensed something off and turned to question the others, only to find them frozen in time. Suddenly, a golden thread appeared Kim Than. He noticed Tenma had once again crossed paths with Hades, though Tenma himself was puzzled why Kim Than was here. Meanwhile, Du passed by Kim Than Baron, who had just heard news about the shadow spirits. Though SAA had driven off the enemy, the battle was far from over. The good news, Tenma was still alive. The bad Baron suspected something was off with Kim Than Amy. Enemies had breached the sanctuary, yet Amy refused to show himself. His mindset was alien compared to the other Kim Than rumoured to move through space-time and converse with gods. No one truly understood Amy's thoughts or his true origins. Amy called Tenma a celestial traitor, predicting Athena's fall in the upcoming Holy War. Suspicious, Tenma attacked, but was blasted down the bloodfall. Confused, he asked what Amy meant. Amy revealed a bond between Tenma and Hades forged over countless lifetimes, a bond that always shifted the tide of each holy war. In past lives, Tenma the Pegasus Saint stood fiercely by Athena's side, strong enough to defeat gods and even Hades himself. But in this life, Tenma was too weak. He dismissed Amy's words and charged again, only to be reminded that his feeble strikes could never harm him. Suddenly, Tenma's mind flashed. Amy was like a living Buddha, whose mere gesture sent Tenma tumbling down the bloodfall again. Amy then demanded to know who Tenma truly was and what his purpose in battle was. These were answers Tenma would need to discover within himself, not from the arrogant boasts of a self-styled hero. Amy showed Tenma the 5 realms a soul must pass through. Hell, the realm of the ego, the realm of demons, the beast realm, the Asura realm, and finally, the human world, a place of endless suffering. Every torment Tenma endured in the human world he had faced before. Amy explained that in a previous life, Tenma had wounded Hades so deeply that Hades hid his true form in the deepest depths of the underworld. Then, he possessed the purest human body in the human realm, Elon Tenma's friend, who was tragically corrupted as a result. Tenma realized that because of himself, Elon had become Hades. But now, he no longer cared. He had found his reason to fight for his 2 friends, SAA, and Elon, no matter the era. With that resolve, he charged forward once more. Pushed back by a haunting force, he finally grasped Tenma's reason for fighting, but Tenma's strength was still too fragile. The mysterious figure ceased his meditation, rose, and unleashed his ultimate secret technique, a cosmic prison that trapped Tenma in a space where retaliation or escape was impossible. In this void, Tenma's senses began to fade, one by one, lost to an overwhelming force. Once every sense vanished, his soul would vanish with them. Soon, he was stripped of all 5 senses, no feeling, no sight left, only with his spirit, his elusive 6th sense through which he witnessed the distant fall of Ami. The captor dismissed her as too weak to wrestle the earth from Hades' grip. Suddenly, Tenma's 6th sense fled back to life, granting him movement within this void. With a fierce resolve, he charged at Amy, refusing to let the bleak future she painted become reality. He struck true, but the target was a towering hell tree, not Amy herself. The enemy had ensnared him in illusion. Yet the pain that seared Tenma's soul was real. Recognizing Tenma's true power, the captor allowed him to take a fruit from the tree to present to the elder, promising a future duel on Earth between Tenma and Jato. Jato and Rika finally stirred, regaining movement. Tenma suddenly collapsed, but revealed the precious fruit he had secured. Time was running thin, their protective wreaths were fading, and they needed to return to the surface swiftly. Meanwhile, Amy sought Athena's counsel, learning that Tenma had been born with fragile senses. Yet even with so few senses, Tenma perceived the world's endless suffering. When Athena met him, she saw the essence of his soul, a man forged in hardship. Ami then made a heartfelt request to Athena. Later, she reunited with Du, acknowledging Du's younger brother's exceptional nature. She wondered how Du knew about Tenma, but now she only wished to march into battle. Gato's group was on the verge of bringing Tenma to the surface, but just as they emerged, a shadowy armoured insect warrior barred their path. Gato chose to stand and fight, urging Rika to escort Tenma away before it was too late. Tenma returned to the mortal realm and met the elder, inquiring about the others. Only Rika had regained consciousness to inform Tenma of Gato's desperate battle below. Though Tenma harboured resentment towards Jato, he refused to let him die for selfish reasons. Below, Gato struggled fiercely against a colossal foe, but was ensnared by the Shadow Warrior. Both exchanged powerful blows until Gato's radiant sword activated, whisking him back to the mortal world, only to learn that the shadow demons pursued them relentlessly. Pandora had tasked them with reclaiming the Hell Tree's fruit, but these shadows sought any excuse to annihilate Tenma's group. No matter how far they ventured, the shadows could not penetrate the illusion cast by Du. He resolved to banish them back to the underworld. Meanwhile, Tenma was puzzled by Du's presence. It seemed Du had come not only to retrieve him, but also to meet the Elder. Though shadow demons are immortal, this fruit held the power to destroy them permanently. The immortality and seals below were intricately tied to this. Du's purpose was to transform these fruits into weapons. Suddenly, a powerful shadow arrived to claim the fruits. Despite falling onto jagged rocks, this enemy survived and ascended to attack, but was stopped by a barrier. Du and Gato believed the situation was manageable, thanks to their sacred armours, but Ami insisted they handle it alone. He had other plans. He would use his own blood to repair Tenma's armour, infusing it with the Hell Tree's power. Outside, the shadows pressed harder, but Tenma fought back fiercely, strengthened by his new armour. Ami devoted everything he had to this mission. Ami ascended the tower, clutching his prayer beads, and entered deep meditation to purify the power within. Rika and Jato joined Tenma, determined to buy enough time until Ami's refinement was complete. The battle drained Tenma's group, yet the shadows clung on like leeches. Suddenly, Ami's power surged, alarming the shadows, who rushed to stop him, but Du intercepted them. Du recalled his first meeting with Athena, who revealed life's harsh truths. Though he believed the world held only suffering, Athena saw that same pain reflected in herself, and chose to accept it, proving her humanity. Having completed his purification, Ami began to banish the shadows into the cosmic truth, where they would perish forever. Now able to open his eyes and see the light of life, Du confronted the true face of the captor. Exhausted from channeling his power into refining the wreath, Ami departed, confident his legacy would empower Athena's army to stand against Hades' forces. Meanwhile, those slain by Amber's poisonous flowers revived, sensing Athena's barrier weakening and shrinking, allowing their resurrection. Before they could advance, they were confronted by Baron wielding sacred needles. Unlike Amber's lethal poison, Baron simply folded his arms, letting the enemies rush in, then unleashed a devastating shockwave. Du arrived, sensing no no need for help, and entrusted him with returning the fallen to the barrier to prevent further resurrections. Du had heard of Ami's deeds, but wondered what he had done deep underground. Suddenly, a powerful presence approached one far from friendly. Kagaho had come to settle a score with Du, but Baron was ready to teach him respect. Meanwhile, students within the sanctuary trained relentlessly, yearning to aid the sacred armors battling outside. There was nothing but pain, yet she saw that same suffering mirrored in him and accepted it as proof of their shared humanity. He completed his refinement and began drawing the phantoms into the reality of the cosmos, eradicating them forever. Now able to open his eyes and see the light of life, he glimpsed the true face of the shadowed demon. Exhausted from refining the ring, he departed, leaving a legacy that would help Athena's army stand toe-to-toe with Hades' forces. Meanwhile, those slain by Amber's poisonous flower had revived, sensing Athena's barrier weakening and shrinking. Though they hadn't gone far, the sacred warrior Baron arrived to dispatch them. Unlike Amber's poisonous garden, Baron simply crossed his arms and awaited their charge. As they attacked, Baron unleashed a shockwave followed by Du's arrival, who saw that Baron barely needed assistance. Du took the fallen back within the barrier to prevent further resurrection. Baron had heard ADM's tale, but didn't know what MMI had done in the underground base. Suddenly, Baron sensed a powerful, ominous presence approaching. The challenger was Kagaho, seeking revenge on Du. Naturally, Baron was ready to teach him some manners. Inside the sanctuary, students trained hard, eager to aid the sacred warriors battling outside. Kagaho ignored Baron and pushed forward to find Du, but Baron stopped him. Kagaho unleashed raging flames to burn Baron, who dismissed them as weak and taught him humility, with a powerful strike to the ground. Forced to extinguish his fire and keep distance, Kagaho introduced himself, but Baron simply crossed his arms again, irritating Kagaho with his calm defiance during battle. Baron's confidence stemmed from knowing he need not fight seriously. Kagaho was forced to retreat, holding back as Baron's presence alone was enough to keep him at bay. Admitting that Baron was indeed intriguing, Kagaho unleashed a blazing attack. Yet Baron didn't flinch effortlessly, blocking the strike before retaliating, sending Kagaho crashing backward. It dawned on Kagaho that his fire, while fierce, consumed everything around him, himself included. He started to question the validity of his powers. Despite his doubts, Kagaho remained steadfast in his devotion to serving Hades. Meanwhile, 3 students reminisced about their past with Baron, who had taken in orphaned children, providing them a home and nurturing them. But when he received a summons back to the holy site, he left the children behind, yet 3 of them chose to follow him, yearning for his guidance. They longed to grow stronger under his tutelage, but the harsh realities of training left one of them terrified. The desire to be by Baron's side clashed with the terrifying spectre of war. Just as a stone column threatened to crush them, Baron rushed in, shielding them, while instilling in them the ideals of strength. This ignited a fire within each of them, fueling their ambition to stand alongside Baron. Suddenly they felt the surge of power emanating from Baron. He stood tall, inviting Kagaho's attack to gauge his strength. When Kagaho attempted to strike, he narrowly dodged, convinced he could read Baron's movements. He understood that Baron's posture was a ruse, a way to conceal his speed. Yet Kagaho was equally confident in his own swiftness. Kodo sensed Kagaho's presence and rushed toward the fray, discovering fallen holy warriors littering the path. They had been taken down by a figure far too quick to react against. Conviction surged, pushing Kodo to run faster. In that moment, Baron began to pay for his arrogance. Kagaho's flames began to scorch him, a testament to his reckless charge. Kagaho, in a reckless fury, charged again, only to be caught by Baron, who slammed him against the wall. Yet Kagaho retaliated with a fiery burst, immobilizing Baron momentarily. When Kodo arrived, he was horrified to see Baron severely burned, fueling his rage against Kagaho, believing him responsible for Baron's fate. Kagaho dodged Kodo's attack, insisting he had come to aid Baron, but Baron countered, demanding Kagaho withdraw from his battle. He believed the struggle of a holy warrior was always a one-on-one encounter, and he wouldn't be easily consumed by Kagaho's flames. At that moment, Baron's students arrived, each unwilling to let their mentor fall. The sight stirred memories in Kagaho of his own brother. One student retrieved Baron's hat and presented it to him, expressing a desire to grow stronger and fight alongside him. With renewed determination, Baron returned to the battlefield, while Kagaho vowed to ensure Baron could no longer stand. Kagaho unleashed a massive column of fire, combining it with 3 explosive orbs to corner Baron. Baron braced it against the heat, retaliating with a ground-shattering blow that sent shockwaves through the arena, toppling Kagaho. Though Kagaho struggled, he rose again, missing one wing, demanding to know why Baron hadn't finished him when he had the chance. Baron, standing firm, explained that deep down, Kagaho still held goodness within him. He wasn't fully aligned with the forces of darkness. He was simply searching for someone to idolize. Baron considered that the holy warriors and the spectres were nothing to him. He chose his own path. With a twist, Kagaho turned to leave. Baron, battered, yet undeterred, could finally lean back, a smile on his face. Despite the bruises, he felt invigorated, having unleashed his full power. Later, he reported back to the high priest, who was taken aback to see someone of Baron's caliber so battered. Baron informed him that the barrier was weakening and the spectres were gradually being revived. They needed to act swiftly before Athena succumbed to the pressure. Just then, a holy warrior named Seafood approached, revealing that Athena was nearing her limit and needed to be freed from her duties. Seafood noticed that 2 holy warriors had already fallen, and one was gravely injured, but Baron insisted he was still in fighting shape. Seafood delivered a light strike, realizing Baron was far worse for wear than he appeared. Baron respected Seafood for his loyalty to Athena, having been close to her since she arrived there, even leading her away from her friends. Now, he questioned whether bringing Athena here had been the right choice. At that moment, a surge of energy crashed against Athena's barrier, shattering it, and Hades made his entrance. Shock washed over everyone as they saw Elon standing by Hades' side, who declared himself the new Hades. Hades brazenly invaded the sanctum of Adme, inciting anger among the defenders for his audacity to confront them alone. Doko and S still harbored resentment from the day Hades obliterated Tenma's homeland, but Hades was unyielding against anyone who dared interrupt his reunion with Athena, swiftly immobilizing S and Doko. Baron and Seafood found themselves equally ensnared. Hades approached Athena, asserting that he was no longer her brother, but Hades now, and he sought to awaken her past memories. From a distance, Seafood struggled to keep his feet beneath him, while Baron held deep respect for him, seeing how he managed to stand, whereas Seafood had already been crushed under Hades' might. Seafood, with newfound determination, rose again, drawing his bow to aim at Hades. He realized that Seafood was the one who had taken Athena away 5 years ago. He was Athena's most trusted ally, the one who had been by her side since her arrival. Yet it was he who had separated her from her 2 closest friends. Now, he questioned himself, was bringing Athena here inadvertently, turning Elon into Hades, truly the right choice? At the very moment when doubt loomed, a pillar of energy shattered Athena's sacred shield, and Hades himself made a shocking entrance. Sa'az was stunned to see Elon again, but the man declared he was no longer who he was. He had become Hades. With ruthless force, Hades shattered Adme's sanctuary, igniting fury among all who witnessed it. Not only did Hades invade unchallenged, but he also strode in alone as if daring them all. Doko and S still nursed the bitter grudge from the day Hades destroyed Tenma's homeland. Yet Hades despised any interference, so when Athena confronted him, he unleashed a move to bind both Su and D, freezing them in place. Baron and Seafood were not spared either. Standing before Athena, Hades declared he was no longer her brother, but the embodiment of darkness itself. He tried to awaken Athena's ancient memories from past lives. Meanwhile, from afar, Food struggled to rise, and even Baron admired his resilience. Despite barely standing, Food pushed himself upright, yet Hades crushed him down again. Yet undeterred, Food rose once more, drawing his bow and aiming at Hades. Hades instantly recognized him as the one who had taken Athena away 5 years ago. He once believed his actions were to protect Athena, but doubts lingered. Food released an arrow at Hades, only for it to be deflected back, and he fell away. Athena's anger blazed fiercely, exactly what Hades wanted. At that moment, a teleportation spell ignited, and Tenma arrived to reunite with them. He pulled out a string of beads, sealing the souls of those on the cusp of resurrection. Hades was caught off guard. How could Tenma, absent only briefly, have acquired a weapon capable of countering his forces? Tenma declared his fight was fueled by a promise to stand by his 2 friends, not to battle a dear companion. He questioned whether Hades could truly be so heartless as to crush Saz as he had destroyed Tenma's home. Hades remained silent. Then Tenma noticed a dog rushing toward Hades, a dog he had saved before now suddenly transforming into Zeus. Hades claimed the past was different. Now it was a holy war. Tenma was forced to pull Zeus away, but Hades mused that if Tenma could help seal the spirits, that might serve his purpose. For his mission was to bring death and salvation to all beings, from saints to ghosts. With beads in hand, Tenma charged shattering Cebus's face with a punch before lunging at Hades to fulfill his vow from the underworld. Yet Hades effortlessly restrained Tenma, claiming the boy's light no longer shone as brightly. Just as Hades prepared to pierce Tenma with his sword, a mysterious formation erupted. Hades suddenly lost his strength, surrounded by sacred seals, conjured by the high priest who revealed himself as one of the few survivors from the previous holy war. The high priest had weakened Hades' power, allowing everyone to move freely once more. This trap had been prepared long ago, yet Hades disdainful blew the high priest away, with a single breath mocking the seals as relics from a war 2 centuries past. Furious that the high priest dared to block his reunion with Tenma, Hades deemed him a worthy target for death. Though reluctant, he had to admit the high priest was no match. Signaling Saz the priest commanded her to cast a teleportation spell, whisking the entire divine palace to a towering fortress far away. The battlefield shifted, in an instant the stakes rising, as old wounds and ancient promises collided once more, in this dance of gods and mortals who would stand unbroken when the final light fades. This is the very place where Hades sealed away his entire army 2 centuries ago. Now he plans to unleash all his might here once again, to imprison him forever, and return Elon to the kind soul he once was for both SAS and Tenma. But Hades dismisses them as hopelessly naive. Just then, a voice echoes through the air and a shadow lunges toward Tenma and SAS. Both barely dodge in time as a carriage descends. It's the carriage of Pandora, the high priestess Hades' right hand, and the one who unleashed evil upon the world. Pandora openly admits she's a loyal servant of Hades, claiming she should have been born as either Hades' wife or sister. Yet Athena, a goddess herself, dared to take a mortal form and become Hades' sister to keep watch over him. But Athena pays no mind to these taunts, because the days spent with Alon and Tenma have been her true joy. Pandora, irritated by Athena's calm, raises her hand to strike, but Tenma steps up to block. Hades, growing bored, orders Pandora to leave. When Tenma refuses, Hades reveals just how vast the gap in their powers truly is. Then, he paints a terrifying portrait across the sky depicting the gold saints and every living soul on earth. Once completed, all will perish. Everyone in the sanctuary sees this dreadful vision, recognizing it as Hades' doing. He explains to Tenma that the painting will be finished when it blankets the sky, signaling the end of all life on earth. Tenma knows all too well the horror awaiting those drawn into Hades' canvas. He's lived through it and knows its cruelty firsthand. Frustrated, Hades boards his carriage to leave. Tenma tries to chase after him, but is suddenly attacked by a ghost. Baron steps in to shield him, believing Tenma is the one destined to defeat Hades. Tenma clings to the carriage, desperate for answers, but just as he's about to strike, Pandora shoots him down. The ghost retreats silently. Hades questions. Pandora suspicious, she secretly dispatched the ghost to spy on him. She stammers, unable to deny it. Meanwhile, the higher-level spirits observe that Hades still clings to his memories with Athena and Tenma, too immature to let go. They know something must be done to awaken him fully and sever those lingering ties. He blocked her because he believed Tenma was the one capable of defeating Hades. With determination, he leaped onto the carriage, demanding answers from Hades. But just as he was about to throw a punch, Pandora shot him down, causing him to fall. The shadowy figure slipped away, and Hades questioned Pandora about whether she had secretly sent the spectre to keep an eye on him. She hesitated, unable to respond. Meanwhile, the higher spectres sensed that Hades was still too emotionally tethered to his memories of Athena and Tenma. They knew something had to be done to awaken Hades fully, to sever the lingering ties to his past. The high priest and Athena realized that their opportunity to bring Elon back was slipping away. The only choice left was to confront Hades. 3 days had passed. and everyone began the arduous task of rebuilding the temple. Yet anxiety hung in the air like a storm cloud, shadowed by the threat of Hades. Du had to nudge Tenma to get him to work. He was relieved that Tenma was alive and back to face Hades, but he felt sorrow for Seafood, who still lay unconscious after his encounter with Hades. According to the high priest, Hades could inflict direct damage on a person's soul, leaving Seafood in a perilous state. Now, the spectre had no attachment to Elon. If Elon retained consciousness, he wouldn't commit such cruel acts. Do urged Tenma to defeat Hades as soon as possible, as Hades had become a terrifying threat to the world. Yet they held on to hope that Tenma could bring Elon back, for both Seafood and ADM believed there was a connection between Tenma and Hades. Later, Tenma's student approached him for help with heavy lifting. Watching the student carry more than he could, Tenma longed to grow stronger and assist him. Just then, Pandora unexpectedly encountered two other deities of the underworld. They criticized her for being too slow in controlling Hades, and warned that if she didn't act decisively, they would ensure Hades focused solely on completing the painting. Pandora resolved to eliminate whatever distracted Hades. She then headed to the Room of the Constellations and summoned two assassins with the intent to target Tenma. They believed they could strike swiftly, leaving Tenma no chance to react. Pandora was determined to free Hades from his burdens, hoping to quell her own unease. Meanwhile, Baron arrived at ADM's estate to share a drink, seeking to apologize for his previous suspicions. Now he vowed to seal away all the spectres with the beads that ADM had sacrificed his life to create. Upon exiting, Baron noticed many spectres lingering around. He soon spotted Tenma and his students training together, prompting him to join in on the practice. Baron stood ready for Tenma to strike, but even with all his might, Tenma couldn't budge Baron, who sent him flying back. They trained until nightfall, but suddenly Baron's students fell asleep uncontrollably. Even Baron wasn't immune, and in that moment the two assassins crept in ready to eliminate Tenma. However, before they could strike, Baron commanded them to stop. He had willingly dulled his hearing to avoid the sound of falling asleep. He launched an attack, shattering one assassin's mask, but the other assassin swiftly stabbed Baron in the side. Both assassins decided to team up against Baron, initially aiming for Tenma, but deeming it a bonus if they could take down a holy knight too. Their relentless assault reopened Baron's old wounds. Despite the pain, he managed to grab one assassin by the throat and slammed him to the ground. The remaining assassin summoned a harbinger of death, knowing that even if Baron couldn't hear the melody, it would still stop his heart. Baron collapsed, and the assassin believed he had succeeded, turning his attention to Tenma. But Baron still held a flicker of consciousness, wishing only for his students and Tenma to survive and grow. He reached out, seizing the broken masked assassin's head and unleashing his ultimate move. Yet the weakest assassin remained, planning to finish off Tenma to claim the glory for himself. But Kagaho appeared, stopping this weakest assassin in his tracks. Kagaho believed Hades wouldn't want anyone to take Tenma's life, so he vowed to keep Tenma alive while questioning who orchestrated the assassination. When he learned it was Pandora behind the plot, the assassin proposed they eliminate Tenma together to share the credit. Without hesitation, Kagaho dispatched him. When Tenma awoke, he found Baron had died. Kagaho informed him that Baron died because Tenma was too weak. It was Pandora who ordered the hit on him, leading to Baron's sacrifice to protect him. If Tenma wanted to learn more, he would have to grow stronger and uncover the truth himself. Kagaho then turned away, believing he had repaid his debt to Baron. Baron's students had also awakened and were mourning. The spectre felt a pang of guilt, recognizing that it was his fault. The next day, he overheard people discussing Baron's death while trying to protect Tenma. Consumed by guilt and not wanting anyone else to die because of him, the spectre resolved to leave. Du and S set off to find Tenma, suspecting he was troubled after witnessing so many holy knights fall. What was worse, Tenma could be accused of desertion if he abandoned them now. Meanwhile, two of Baron's students visited his grave, with one girl contemplating abandoning her dream of becoming a holy knight due to her lack of talent. Instead, she decided to assist in the fight as a handmaiden, hoping her friend would soon grow strong enough to inherit Baron's legacy. As Tenma walked by, seeing them only deepened his sense of inadequacy. Suddenly, another holy knight approached him, informing him that Duo and S were frantically searching for him. Tenma believed he had become Pandora's target. He thought staying would lead to more deaths like Baron's, but the knight laughed, claiming Baron's death was due to weakness. Later, Koga urges Kagaho to kill Tenma and share the glory, but Koga swiftly eliminates him instead. When Tenma regains consciousness, he finds Baron dead. Kagaho reveals that Baron died protecting Tenma struck down because Tenma was too weak. Pandora ordered the hunt on Tenma. If Tenma wants answers, he must grow stronger and uncover the truth himself. Kagaho turns away, convinced he has already paid his debt to Baron. Meanwhile, Baron's disciples awaken sobbing endlessly. Tenma's heart aches, he knows it's his fault all this suffering befell them. The next day, rumours swirl about Baron's death protecting Tenma. Haunted by guilt, Tenma resolves to leave this place, not only burdened by shame, but unwilling to let anyone else perish because of him. Meanwhile, Du and Sasa set out to find Tenma, suspecting his heart is troubled after witnessing the fall of so many gold saints. Worse still, Tenma risks being branded a deserter if he runs now. At the same time, Baron's students visit his grave. One girl laments her lack of talent and considers abandoning her dream of becoming a saint. Instead, she plans to serve as a caretaker supporting the fight from behind the scenes. She hopes Tenma will grow strong enough to inherit Baron's gold cloth. Passing by, Tenma sees them, and his guilt deepens. Suddenly, another gold saint approaches, informing him that Du and Sasa are frantically searching for him. Tenma believes Pandora is hunting him now, that if he stays more will die like Baron. But his companion laughs bitterly, saying how Baron died because he was weak. This is war. Death is inevitable. And what chance does a gold saint like Tenma have to stop this holy war? Frankly, he's too weak and cowardly to face it. If Tenma deserts, he'll be executed, but not killed outright because he's still useful. Instead, he'll be locked away until they need him. Tenma struggles smashing the prison door with all his might, but it's useless, the armor's been taken. He doesn't even know what he's fighting for anymore. He knows he'd bring shame to ADM and Baron if they could see him now. Both sacrificed everything, placing their faith in him, yet he's done nothing. Meanwhile, Pandora's assassination plan has failed. If Hades learns she acted without permission, he will be furious. She hopes he will understand, though. The former bishop appears forgiving Pandora's failure this time, but she must explain herself to Hades. No matter what she does, Hades will never care for her feelings. He will drift away, neglecting his painting to seek Tenma instead. They will lend her power to keep Hades confined here. She confronts Hades and is punished for acting alone. Yet she senses Hades still holds memories of his childhood with those two friends, so she decides to use a flower branch given by that man to trap Hades in a closed space, forcing him to focus solely on his painting. Meanwhile, Tenma frantically tries to break free from his prison with all his strength and ability. Suddenly, Gato appears, showing him a secret escape route he dug. Gato seems to bring nothing but bad luck whenever he's around Tenma, but he leads him out. Outside, Tenma reunites with Rick, who has also become a saint and will accompany Gato and Tenma to the end. Tenma learns that the Elder has meddled in this affair and boldly declares his intent to confront Hades' palace. The High Priestess insists Tenma must remain confined for the sanctuary's safety. Athena reluctantly agrees. But the Elder arrives, arguing Tenma should be allowed to act as he wishes. No one can clip his wings. If they do, he'll never reach Eren. So the Elder frees Tenma and assumes full responsibility. The High Priestess has no choice but to accept and entrusts Athena to meet Tenma one last time. Tenma was guided out through a tunnel he had dug. Gato, puzzled why misfortune always clung to Tenma, accompanied him. They met Rick, now a saint, who joined them. Tenma discovered the Elder had a hand in this and openly declared his desire to reach Hades' palace. The High Priest insisted Tenma be imprisoned for safety within Athena's sanctuary, and Athena reluctantly agreed. But the Elder intervened, arguing Tenma should act on his own will. They could not clip his wings. If they did, he would never reach Elon. The Elder took full responsibility and released Tenma. The High Priest accepted this and advised Athena better said Sasa to meet Tenma once before his departure. She left behind her sacred staff and ran off alone. The High Priest and Elder sensed two masterminds behind Pandora's chaos. These two, aware of Tenma's quest for Hades, set a trap outside the palace to bar his entry. Meanwhile, Gato lamented missing a final meeting with Athena. Suddenly she appeared before Tenma. Meeting Sar again, Tenma promised that the three friends would reunite once more. He vowed to face everything this holy war threw at